Hello and welcome to the Motorway Man, and welcome to a brand new series where I'll be looking at the service station history of Britain's motorways. We'll be looking at some old, some new and some undeveloped service stations in this wonderful series across the UK, and in today's show we'll be looking at the M40. And as always, before we get into things, I ask that you subscribe because it'll help me keep the channel going. It'll make it all worth it, and if you're feeling super generous, consider supporting me on Patreon for exclusive perks and benefits that you're not going to find anywhere else. So, today we'll be looking at the M40, so I'll be sharing some basic facts to start us off. So, the M40 is 89 miles long and opened in 1967. It runs from London to Birmingham via Oxford and today has 4 service stations. But at one point, if all plans came to fruition, it could have had up to 14 potential service stations, and I'll be showing you all the plans today. So, we must start at the M40's official start point in Uxbridge, where the A40 becomes the M40, and upon departure it won't take us long to reach our first stop, Mount Hill Services. Mount Hill Services was a proposed service station very early on in the M40's journey, proposed to be between junction 1 and 2 of the M40. It was first brought to the table as a potential service station by Margram in 1994. The plan, however, was quickly withdrawn due to M40 roadworks at the time, and after the work's completion, Mount Hill Services was reconsidered until 2005, where it was taken to a public inquiry, who deemed the new service station to be too environmentally damaging. So unfortunately, the service station was refused in 2005. So next on the journey, and again we're still only at junction 2, you would find Beaconsfield Services. This is a service station that exists in the present day and is operated by Extra. It is the M40's newest service station, opening in around 2009. Beaconsfield is a great service station, described as the most beautiful in all of Europe, so it's definitely well worth a stop. And after leaving Beaconsfield, we would arrive at Abbey Services, positioned between junction 3 and 4. Abbey Barnes doesn't exist today, but it was planned to be the M40's first service station. It even had slip roads constructed in 1969. However, the M40 wasn't completed till 1974, so Abbey Barnes Services has already been left for 5 years, making it even less desirable. So by the 80s, no operators had taken the site on, so in 1989, the plans to build Abbey Barnes Services were abandoned. And not too far away, between junction 4 and 5, is another proposed service station called Booker Services. Sadly for Booker, it just wasn't what the government wanted. It wasn't in a good enough location, it was too far away from other service areas, and it was too close to an Air Force base. So really, the government just didn't really want it there, and refused the plans of Booker Services in 1996. And again, not too far away at junction 5 was the Department for Transport's own idea of a service station called Stokenchurch. Stokenchurch Services was quickly dropped though, however, due to the development angering the locals. And the situation didn't improve at Extra's plan, Lunar Services. Their idea only lasted for 2 years, from 1994 to 1996, when Extra's plan was refused. But finally, at Junction 7, we would see a success story, as initially, Tetworth Services was all set to be planned and open. The location was chosen due to it not harming the community or any residents around, so everything seemed okay. But why isn't it around today? What went wrong for Tetworth Services? As Tetworth certainly seemed to tick a lot of boxes, however there was one box it didn't tick, that was Welcome Brig's box, as Welcome Brig were planning to build Oxford Services a tad further up the M40 at junction 8. Whose service station would win and be built? The result would rule in favour of building Welcome Brig's Oxford Services, which we can see on screen now. Oxford is a superb service station with ponds, fountains and loads of great facilities, but unfortunately we must move on to the next service station proposal, and another example of a rare successful development, as Moto's Cherwell Valley Services opened on time and as planned back in 1994 at junction 10, becoming the M40's first service station in the process. Cherwell Valley Services originally opened in 1994, but was reconstructed and rebuilt by Moto in 2011. Cherwell is a great service station with loads of good food offerings, by the way. And from the M40's first service station, we come to what could have been the newest, as in 2016, Euro Garage submitted an application to build Banbury services on the M40 at Junction 11. Not much came of the exciting new proposal, unfortunately, for Euro Garage, as these plans were refused in 2018. And finally, we come to the M40's last current service station, Warwick, between Junction 12 and 13. But actually, before we do, let's look at the last unbuilt service station, and it was an alternative site to Warwick, and that was Gaydon Services at Junction 12. Gaydon Services was proposed as an alternative site should the building of Warwick Services fall through, but luckily Warwick Services was constructed as planned, so that meant there was no need for Gaydon Services, so the plans were refused back in 1995. And finally, yes, we do come to Warwick Services between Junction 12 and 13 of the M40. I'm a big fan of Warwick Services, tours of the northbound and southbound on the channel for you to see, and after Warwick, we would shortly be arriving at the end of the M40, just south of Birmingham near in Ayleswood, where the M40 ends, when it merges and joins onto the M42 in a junction known as the Umberslade Interchange. So there we have it, the entire service station history of the M40. So, some service station information on the M40 then. So, from the start of the motorway to the first service station, which is Beaconsfield, it would take you 8 miles. Then from Beaconsfield to Oxford Services, it would take you 24 miles. Oxford to Cherwell Valley, 20 miles. Cherwell Valley to Warwick, 22 miles, and Warwick to the end of the motorway is 22 miles also. So on the M40, you're probably no more than 20 miles away from the nearest service station, which is pretty good, as the government target is that you're never more than 30 miles away from a service station, so things are going pretty swell in the service station mileage department. Next, we'll look at the service station operators, with Beaconsfield being operated by Extra, Oxford by Welcome Break, Moto operates Cherwell Valley, and Warwick is also operated by Welcome Break. So that means that Extra's got 1 service station on the M40, Moto 1, and Welcome Break's in the lead with 2. So there we have it, every single service station ever to be proposed or exist or once existed on the M40 motorway. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, there'll be plenty more motorways for us to look at in this wonderful series. I do appreciate your time as always. It'll mean a lot to me if you helped and supported on Patreon, as I'd appreciate that. And there's a new service station tour coming on Sunday, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. So subscribe, follow me on Twitter, support me on Patreon, and I shall catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching, subscribe to the channel, and goodbye.